Welcome back to the Active Hobo. We have a new guest here today, Nic White, the legend. Nick may or may not know this, probably not, but he's one of the big drivers as to why this channel exists, and served to motivate me intensely to come out here and tell stories. We tell stories on this channel because they matter. And Nick, you certainly have some stories to tell. I'll give you the background as to why you're so instrumental in this thing even existing. But thanks for coming through. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
I know you're a very busy man. So I'll do a soft intro for you just because you are a unique guest in terms of being a major pivotal driver as to why this thing exists. So I'm new to cycling, relatively speaking. Give me 5 or 6 years at most. We moved to the Cape 2 or 3 years ago. There's some avid subscribers to the Nic White pop-up gravel events and all sorts of other things, which you can come around to explaining. You go on this thing and it's just like, oh, that's, the guy leading this thing. You're on a ride a week from now and, talking about this lacquer ride that's, Nic White, yeah. And the person, I won't mention all these people's names, but there's like, I'll lose count if I have to tell you them. And said person, 35-year-old avid cyclist, is like, who Nic White is? I'm like, he does some coaching and does these pop-up events, but no, I don't know all that much detail about him. Like, what am I missing here? And he proceeds, and there's legends, there's myths. I don't know how much of it is true, but in this specific instance, he's like, that guy was stuck up. There was a picture out of a magazine of him. Like, he was the guy. He was the first person I remember motivating me to want to get involved, watch cycling, and enjoy it. And I was like, wow. I had no idea, because you're so humble and you're not going to run around singing your praises. John O'Connor, who I will name, I've spent a lot of time with him, and he's been on the podcast, and we talk about the heydays, and we spent some time talking about Malcolm and some of the incredible results he had. And he said, who made a lot of those results happen? And I was like, and this was not with prompting you. He's like, get Nic White in this chair. And this is where that big drive came from to get you here. He reckons that a lot of the majority of the victories that have happened for sprinters is all credit to this big diesel engine legend Nick. Someone said that he may or may not have won a cobbled classic in Europe. It's just like the stories never end. And for me, I was like, there has to be a platform that tells stories about, I don't want to say everyday people because you're not your everyday person, but people that are in our everyday lives that you just don't know, like the story of the person standing there, because generally speaking, they're quite humble and aren't out there raving about themselves and all these things that they've done. And it's taken a lot of restraint to not ask you all these questions and try and like panel beat the myths and the legends and the facts from, hype. But that was a major, major drive force a year and a half ago already, to say, like, we have to create something, because that is a tragedy. God forbid someone walks into that store, comes and stands there and deals you just over the counter and doesn't know who the fuck you are. That for me is the tragedy, because there's a lot of learning there's so many opportunities for people to gain and learn and, to ask different questions and also just show some respect, like, because there's a man that has done incredible things. So selfishly, I'd like to get to the point where we unpack some of those things, because I just think you've done incredible stuff that a lot can learn from, and just it'll be awesome to hear the stories. But maybe you can kick us off with, typical origin stories type stuff. Where did it start? Where did you grow up?
Yeah. Started off, I suppose, like many people's stories can start. You at home get a bicycle, you go right around the block, you go a little bit further, and then so it grows until you find some people that you can ride with that are doing the same thing as you, and it builds from there until you plug into some racing. But it's more like you're creating here camaraderie around a few guys riding together, having a little bit of a dice, and that's where the first race was born, when the second rider joined the first rider. Is that not true?
Yeah.
But that's, I suppose, where it begins. And for me, the racing aspect, I suppose, what we've done is born in racing, but it's not all about the racing. It's about the journey and the bicycle and where it can take you. And that's where it starts. It's the freedom of, before you can drive a car or go anywhere, you can jump on a bicycle and you can go on a journey. And I think that just, all the things that I've done, whether it be racing or riding or whatever, to what we do today and going for a ride somewhere interesting, it's a journey by bicycle. And that's, what it's the emphasis of everything, I suppose.
That's
the origin of everything is
continues
that
to
we
burn.
take a bicycle to go on a journey. Whether you're racing your mate, going somewhere, taking your kit, whatever it may be, it's about taking the bicycle on a journey, yourself on a journey, using the bicycle as the tool.
Speaking of journeys, where does yours start? Are you Cape born and bred?
So, south of Johannesburg, obviously,
Joburg South.
long ago, that was the hub of cycling.
Where's all the
South
Lebanese
Africa.
Portuguese slang?
Yeah,
all the Era
Roberts,
and
yeah,
Jetta
that
and-
was all in school. Don't you worry, there was plenty of.
Was there?
Yeah.
Okay.
South school, learning to ride in the South, the Lido Hotel. Those who are old enough will remember that was the hub of where everyone used to meet in Johannesburg. Guys from the north used to come out there reluctantly, but that was the hub of cycling and
Lido
riding around
Hotel.
in the south of Joburg. That's where it began. I stayed.
Why Lido, if I may ask? Why the hotel? Just
It was maybe a good meeting point for all the routes that went south, Walkerville, the Deur, Eikenhof. There were good roads there, no robots. Obviously, Joburg itself was busy. Those little short stops. In the south, you could ride for a long time. The top guys,
Nice
Gary
roads.
Bienicke, Mark Bienicke, Alan van Heerden, all of them. Willie Engelbrecht, when he came from the Cape to there as a pro, they all used to meet there, and that was the riding place. We used to meet there at 7:30 on a Saturday morning. There'd be 150 people in the bunch.
you
It
joking.
was ridiculous.
How old are you at that point?
16, 17.
And there's that many people out there cycling, eh?
Yeah,
Sure.
in those days. So, no, just word of mouth. In those days, there were no
I
telephones.
was going to say, how did that get out? How did people know? Just
knew. You ask people, hey, we're going there, that's the time you're there.
there's no
You're not.
WhatsApp. There's no.
If you get a puncture, it's tough luck, you sort yourself out. Those proper ride through the trees. Now, we used to do some riding through the trees to reminisce on what we did in the original parts, our pop-up rides in Joburg. From our sort of white ink hub in Parkview, where I'd lived at that point, we took some people and we started these pop-up rides and went to the trees, which is where, when I was a youngster, we used to go with the pros and follow them through what was called the trees.
Yeah.
So that area, that route goes where SA Champs is actually going to be this year. A piece of that route is part of the original trees start point.
Okay.
And the group used to roll.
Do you just ride through like a bunch of trees? There.
No, there's trees in areas, it's orange farms. But anyway, there was a big area where there are lots of trees, so it was called the trees route.
Okay.
But Willie and Mark Bienicke, those guys on the front, the group used to roll. And the first time I went out there in these orange farms, I got a puncture or I got dropped. I didn't not get a puncture, I got dropped because it was
The legs
quite
punctured.
it was a hard pace, and then didn't know where I was. No telephone, nobody with me. Lefts and rights through this trees area. For those who know will know it's complicated in there. I was on my own and I had to find my way. Anyway, I found my way to a place where there's a little cafe. It was Dr. Nana's cafe where guys used to stop for a Coke. Some other riders pitched up there, and then I found my lift home with these other riders. But that was my introduction to the trees at 16 or so.
First ride into the trees. Okay.
And that's where-
And did that instill any? Were you fine with that? You weren't like.
No, it's what you just got on
From
with
the
it, you
south,
find your
right from the
way, and
south.
then you make your way home, and it's your journey. As
So
I
you
said.
would go, you'd ride from there back to home.
Yeah, so I mean, the whole route was maybe 100 kilometers, 120 maybe. So it wasn't massive,
That's
but
big for
maybe
15. I mean, that's not nothing.
No, I didn't used to ride much more than that. Like nowadays, youngsters are doing some silly things, but 100 Ks was a good weekend
proper.
ride. And then, we used to be maybe 10 Ks from the start at the Lido. It was another 10, 15 Ks home. Guys used to get back to the Lido, everyone have a Coke, and then those that had parked there and go drive up the Lido hill. Obviously, always a headwind back home in the south of Joburg. And then some guys used to drive back to the north because they'd driven there. And then the pros and that used to be riding up the hill, so you had to get onto the bus. And then some cars used to come and then go slowly, and then all the guys would lean on the car to get a tow up the hill.
Random cars were just.
No, the riders who were now going home, they used to come and drive slowly,
okay,
so everyone
okay.
could lean on the car and
okay.
like Billy would sit on the bonnet and while the car's moving. So
I wish there
that's how
was
we grew up.
footage
And
of
that's
this,
how we
because there obviously won't be. There's no. You weren't ripping your camera out of your pocket.
There were no cameras that could fit in a
Trying
pocket.
to picture it. What are the bikes like back then? What does that look like? What's it?
Still like
Steel frame.
shifters, steel frames.
Okay.
It's not that complicated. 8-speed. If you
Trying to see this image. It's rad.
So those were the beginning days, and then from there, schoolboy racing, under 17 racing, And
At 16, are you, as the bug
16,
bitten, are you like in it
17,
now, or are you still...
the bug's biting. I
Okay.
think matric 17-year-old was the first proper racing year.
Okay.
As a junior, I think I was. No, I was still under 17 then in matric.
Okay.
And yeah, then we used to go with vets. There was a proper vets league in Johannesburg. They used to have racing on Sundays, I think it was. And those were shortish distances. There were the vets categories and there was an open category. So as a non-vet, you could go race in the open category.
Every Sunday?
Yeah, it was various Sundays. There used to be routes that we used to do all around Johannesburg. There were schoolboy races and schools league also on those similar type of routes at various times. So that's where all the...
What years is this? Because this sounds... I've
When were you born?
88.
Yeah, it was 1991. So you were in...
Bit of a... Would you say that was in a... like a heyday era of cycling?
There've been various heydays, but that was
It's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
So I've had a lot of conversations since we've moved here. Obviously, our content has been quite weighted to the Cape because it's where I am.
Yeah.
And we've spoken to people about how they would race the neck. And I mean, if I hear Cape Cobra one more time, like please God, someone bring that race back. Finishing up Red Hill, Oaks bombing down, Oakarps, like racing in the suburbs. Like, wow, I can't imagine this. Yeah. But it's never dawned on me. No one's ever spoken about what Joburg was like back then, what Gauteng was like. That must be its own, listening to what you're saying now. I mean, a race almost every other Sunday.
It was often, and it was on routes and circuits that they're never going to race easily again. Joburg, the country got built up in various areas and everything got busy, and then those areas weren't possible to use any longer like we had used them in some, and even before my era it was probably even more prolific that they could do these type of events. The roads were quiet. It's probably where gravel is becoming now. You're in the little outskirts and there's less happening. And that's what the early road was like. So yeah, we had the privilege of doing those races. In the Cape they had the privilege of doing those things. I had the privilege of coming here and doing Rapport tours, Boland tours, Giro del Capos, where we raced races on routes that we're never going to race again, like racing down through Tosha Free, Hex River Valley into Worcester, those type of things, down Sir Lowry's Pass into Strand.
Yeah.
There's
I
never
can't imagine going down Sir Lowry's Pass. Yeah.
That do that any longer, and we did that.
Yeah.
In international bunches with foreigners who were here in their teams. Those were good years, and you aren't going to see those, I don't think, again on those same roads.
What were some of the big drivers back then? I mean, you're in the industry, so you've got a different view. You know what makes this big engine turn.
Yeah, I think that in those days...
It was a big international scale, eh?
But also, more things have opened internationally in more developed places, like the racing in Australia, the racing in the Middle East. Early on, we were maybe a destination for certain riders because of the early season and the good weather, or the late season and, a little bit of a holiday kick. But, yeah, other places have become developed and gone ahead of us. So I don't think we'll see those easily here.
Well, I'm glad you were a part of that. What was participation like then at a Sunday race, group, open? Not open.
It probably has gotten... It was probably a little bit, definitely I think a little bit smaller then at some places and sometimes, but yeah, I think the popularity, I don't know the numbers, but the popularity of the recreational rider and the recreational races, Cape Town Cycle to August, the ride Joburg 94.7 originally, all of those races went through big booms and brought a lot of people in that maybe hadn't been before. But if I think back to my early... What was Ride Joburg was the Star 100 lap of Joburg. That was big. But I mean, I've got no idea what the numbers were then. 1989, 1990, those years.
Okay. And that's, I mean, your first clue that you wanted a race, because I mean, there's a big difference between enjoying riding your bike, riding a hard pace with some strong guys, to taking the leap to say, I'm going to really give this thing a go. I mean, was there some early clues from other sporting activities that you did?
No,
were you like a prolific rugby player, soccer player?
It's probably not good at ball sports. Didn't really like running, so the endurance thing, one cycling bit, was something that I found I could do and enjoy doing. Okay. So you didn't know until you tried, and then I could actually do it pretty well amongst your peers, and then it grows. Okay. But no, I wasn't a sports mad. Did a little bit of...
I always ask this, what were the academics like?
Yeah, reasonable, but I suppose but maybe not applied myself as hard as I should have, as many kids probably don't. But yeah, it wasn't terrible, it wasn't great.
I remember your kids are going to watch this, eh? So
They do, and we have spoken about this at length. And yeah, my wife is a little bit more diligent and make sure that they push hard. When some of my kids are a bit like her and some others are a bit like me or a little bit less.
yeah. There's that little kid that you've got that definitely has some similarities. You know, that short little,
Which there's,
being facetious.
Yeah.
Man's a beast. Okay, so you're riding 16, 17. You do your first race at 17, matric 17?
no, I mean, racing, I can't remember the exact years, but like going with the vets guys to the vets races, that's where my early race wins happen potentially at those vets races in the open groups.
Okay.
I think even racing with John O'Connor, first time I saw him, we were riding this lap
You
around.
can remember the first interaction.
Yeah, he's reminded me of this a few times. But we had this, it was around the cheese factory loop. So if you remember SA's last year, there was a little piece which went past the cheese factory, which is down there in the bottom of Joburg. And there was just like a criterium around there. We had to do many laps, and it's a headwind up and tailwind down or whatever it was. And I was attacking early on, and John said to me, nah, just what are you doing or whatever. So then I just carried on doing what I did because I could, and I felt good enough to do that. I happened to win that race. I think it was the second race I ever won.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where one of
What
the
are you doing?
ones.
Winning the race.
Yeah. Why are you attacking? I just want to go up the road. And then I did, and I stayed up the road. So as you do, if you can. So
lovely.
yeah, and I think my earliest race win was one of those style of races a bit earlier, and I managed to get away, and it's also just one alone. But all within a similar sort of
Enjoy
period
a
of time.
breakaway.
Yeah, so it was nice to be able to, the best, and then, later on in my career, some of the mentalities of, I suppose, emotionally driven ideas about where a good race is or whatever. So when you're in a bunch race, you got to escape, you got to be alone to win. Whereas, some of the motivations for someone who's starting a time trial is like, it's actually fine. You just go at your best pace. You don't have to get rid of anyone because you're already in the break. So you just have to ride hard.
Got you.
So I haven't won a lot of individual time trials that are just time trials, but I've won a lot within a tour environment.
And you chalk a lot of that up to mentality, just the idea of going and attacking the...
everyone's got different capabilities, so not everyone can just ride fast alone, but it's those that, if you can, and you're on a time trial sort of space, and, obviously then equipment wasn't as complicated as it is now. So you didn't have to have all the gear necessarily, but yeah, I did a lot of good time trials in tours and managed to win, but it was always like a refreshing start because it was just you and the go, not you and all the others before you can go.
Got you.
So
Now that's a mentality you're privileged to have as a racer. I couldn't even...
Yeah.
So where does the career start and the fun racing end?
I think that what's important as well, and some people maybe get there's too much career and focus and they forget about the fun part. And what we try and also, instill in the people that we deal with, and it's part of our report that we send out once people have maybe done assessments or whatever, is that you can't not have fun doing it. Otherwise, what's the point? So you've got to find the fun, even though it will be hard. There's got to be an achievement. There's got to be a fun element. You've got to enjoy doing it. Otherwise, and, in the teams that we've supported and run, my philosophy's always been like, you can't give someone 50 Rand and tell them to hurt themselves. But you can reward them with something when they want to do it.
Yeah.
And that's where they've done well. And, I've been a pro rider, and we've had various managerial styles through my years of the teams that I managed to ride with. But it was always almost best when we were driven to make the effort. As soon as someone's driving you to make the effort, it's not the same effort, not easy to do. And it's the same, I think, with, like why you sort of fall into the space of becoming better and finding your way is not because you're driven by, okay, I want to make money. You're driven because that's what you like to do. You can do it, you explore it, and it grows, and then, it goes forward. So that was my philosophy. Maybe it doesn't work for everybody, but I did think that's what worked well for me in my career and my riding life, actually.
It strikes me not just the elites that I've spoken to, but certainly them in particular, people that I consider just godlike almost in terms of riding a bicycle, how much they grapple with mental, I'm not going to say mental issues, but self-doubt, seeing themselves the way other people see them as this incredible talents, and not egotistically, not in a vain way, but they like, it really strikes me how much of a pro elite level cyclist is mentality versus just performance. It's unbelievable.
No, I
It's
think
really, really striking. And the managerial and the coaching style. There's a book I read it every year. Jim Collins, Good to Great. It's one of the most empowering books. It just helps get my mind in the right headspace at the start of the year with, the business interests that I have. And he talks about, the right people. For any company to succeed, for any venture to succeed, for any team to succeed, you need the right people. And what determines the right person? There's lots of characteristics. But once you've got the right people, which I think most companies and most teams tend to find they have, it's not about, the right person isn't motivated by money. They aren't motivated by incentives. The right people do things because of their values. It's ingrained in them. And it's more important how to make sure you don't demotivate them than it is to find gimmicky ways to motivate them. And that sits with me. It's something that I've always taken from, you can read that book 10 times and you find something different every time. But that's a big thing. Like, just how do you make sure you don't demotivate rather than worrying about all the little gimmicky things you can do that you think are going to motivate people? The right people are already motivated. Remove the barriers of things that are, going to frustrate them. So that's, and then you have, Byron refers to John Wakefield, who we've spoken to as well, and how that managerial style really worked for him. Like there was a very blunt, almost like harshness to it, and at that time he did, that really worked for him. That isn't true for everyone, and that's
No,
you would know as someone who's coached and someone that's been coached.
Yeah, there's different styles work for different people.
100%.
So yeah, everything works for everyone.
What worked for you? Obviously the balance.
Yeah, I think
Have fun.
having a group of people to do what you were doing with, because at the end of the day, maybe one person gets a result, but there's a group behind that making the result happen. Whether it be your teammates on the road or the people on the sidelines, your team is everyone around you, and the result is not yours alone. It's everyone's that have contributed to that. And having a good space obviously made a big difference to being able to make those results. We'd obviously been expected in certain teams and whatever to make results under pressure to do it, and it doesn't happen. And other times we were driven by ourselves because obviously needed to do and wanted to make the results, and then it came. But having good people and having comfort in the support that you've got around, that the people have got your back and you in a good space, and there's no friction, and it's not unreasonable in terms of how you can perform, that always worked for me well. And I can see it through various years when we had a good bunch of guys, good rhythm. It was easy and we did well, and we were, like that success brought more success. And other times we had all these good people on paper, but there were some factors that just upset it. And as much as and hard as we tried, we wouldn't get it right. Not from a physical issue, or just the atmosphere was wrong.
Yeah.
And, we would...
That's so important.
We also raced against other teams at some point, and, like some people, they have when the press used to follow cycling, it used to be pretty good. I got things full of stuff, which my kids have been reluctant to look through, but there's pictures and stories and that in all sorts of newspapers, whatever.
Send.
Piles of it. Anyway, the current people, they would always have a story on the Friday about what they're going to do, and we would prefer the story on the Monday of what we did do. So that was our philosophy. It wasn't like, don't talk first, talk after.
Okay.
And that was our racing philosophy. And many times against the opposition, it was healthy competition, but we did get the upper hand often. We had the story on Monday instead of the Friday story. But everyone was getting a piece of the press, which was also good, which means that cycling was followed. It was on now you have to make your own noise. So when we eventually ran our small teams at Toyota CSA, when I'd retired, and we had Louis Meinke's, Willie Smith, those teams in the Toyota Cycle Lab sort of group, to to then the Europe car thing with Philly and you know, other guys, and Ryan Gibbons at the start, and then road cover. We used to have to make our own press. So you weren't like when I was a pro, when people following you and making your noise, you had to make the noise first, do it yourself. And I think that's where it's almost gone to, is that there's not a lot of mainstream stuff talking about what the cycling environment does, and results-driven stuff. It's more a case of you making your own noise, which again has turned into, it's more profitable to be an influencer making your own noise than someone doing well and making a sporting performance noise, which is the way it's changed.
I've said in probably every one of these podcasts, cycling in South Africa and the world over, it has a media problem. It's a media problem. If you look at, it has a media and a money problem, and the two things are linked. There's a golfer, we know, someone mentioned it actually on the ride this morning, so-and-so as a under 30-year-old, broken into, you know, the world rankings. He was in the top 100, in the top 50, and I haven't fact-checked this, but he said in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, his results at the tournaments that he's played at, he's made more than Teddy Pogacar will make in the whole year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Guy that's, you know, think about this, it's just like, and it hits you and it's like,
yeah, tennis,
it's just,
golf, those things are different.
It's a problem. And then if you look at, I mean, if you think media, what platform is left? I mean, we have Super Sport and we have magazines. The media landscape is gone. It doesn't exist anymore. So you'll tune in and you'll watch. I mean, think about your own home. I mean, back in the day, it was Mnet probably on, KTV in the morning, you know, whatever, and then the ads would run in between and what came on. It was almost like habitualized, where you'd go home and the family would sit down and you'd watch something. Now, normally there's like YouTube on, multi-device. It's tablet. Who sits and watches TV?
Nah, things have changed.
When last did your family sit down and watch like Discovery or Animal Planet, and you know, an ad comes on and things go out, because there's your captive moment to appeal to people. It's gone. And it's, I mean, I'm not going to pretend it's easy. We are a media platform, if you want to look at it that way, and we're trying to lend a voice to something that's very niche. It's not easy. No. It's expensive, and I'll be the first to tell you, there's no money in it. It is the people that subscribe to this and comment and like give us the hope in one day, if it really blows up, maybe this commercializes. And if it doesn't, whatever, I don't care. It's not why we're doing it. But it's, you almost need like someone, like most racing teams are. They're not backed by a logical financial interest that relates to something.
It's passion.
So,
I mean, the top end now is passion driven as well. UAE, that money's not spent on that big infrastructure that they've got.
Sure.
Commercial interest entirely.
Motorsport's no different.
So anyway, it is what it is. But we're passionate about riding bicycles, and that's why we...
And I think, I do think it's turning. I must be honest. I think I was just in Joburg this last week, and I mean, we spoke about this before we were live, and I mean, that culture, Joburg is special. I still love Joburg. I love the people, I love the energy there. It felt like a holiday going there. It was the strangest thing. Much less aggression on the road from road users, which was like mind-boggling to me. But like no youngsters. I didn't see anyone under 25, young, exciting.
No,
in like come back here, you go up Chappies, and I'm seeing groups of girls, 18, 19, 20, 25, 27, nice, snazzy kits, you know, out there together doing, like there's lots of young people now tapped into this thing, post-COVID, like super boom, and you're at work in a shop, so you'll see more of this than I will. But there's definitely something happening here where there's young people getting involved.
More possible to, like, that's also in some reason why we came here, is that, you know, my kids at their age, 16, now 19, to go and ride on their own in the streets of Johannesburg. I mean, we still connected with the groups in Johannesburg that ride around the central part, Rosebank, the north. Those guys hardly go out without a following vehicle on the weekend.
Yeah.
So it's not, and you don't go out without a group, whereas here, my 16-year-old go ride around on his own in the suburbs, on the mountain, you know?
Yeah.
Where
not to say there's no risk, but relatively
risk.
speaking.
Essentially, you can do that, where you wouldn't be riding from Parktown Boys and going for a lap of the north on an afternoon in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
And nevertheless in the morning on your own either. So we're fortunate in that case that Cape Town, despite its problems, you can still do that. So,
And it's growing.
just to navigate your way around
It's growing.
everything is the tricky part, but it comes with time, which is also, I suppose, why and where we've extended beyond my racing and riding, racing, aggressive, competitive type stuff, is it's built into the journey aspect, which started.
Did you have that journey clarity mindset then?
It's a journey
or in your racing?
Obviously, every time you go on a training ride, and we had certain teammates who were set in, this is the way we go and we don't deviate. Where I was like, we go this way this time, that way that time. They didn't like that, some of our past teammates, because they wanted to know exactly when the hills. It was too boring.
Just because?
How many groups always go the same way that you ride with? You go the same way every time almost?
Every Tuesday.
My philosophy, and if you come on any of our store rides or any of my other things, is that, and this began in Joburg and it was probably ingrained in me from long before, is that we never go the same way.
Okay.
Twice, exactly the same. There's always a variation. Because life is varied. Why do the same thing all the time? So that's what we do.
And you were doing back that in your training rides back then?
I mean, it was normal. Like, always a little bit, you get like similar ways and this way, that way, but there was a little bit of a variation, and it obviously progressed with time. But when we started with the gravel thing, obviously started a lot of more exploration, but the journey thing started from my early years as a pro. December holidays, going, Mark Berneker and Gary Berneker began this way before me, is they'd ride to Durban. That was their thing. And then December would come and they would go on holiday and they'd ride down to Durban. So eventually we rode with our group. So that's where you've seen some of these groups have done. I'm a Shova ride down to
Northcliffe does a really nice one.
So we've managed quite a few of those over the years, but it began with Mark Berneker's Durban group, 16th of December, or just before that they leave, and we go, 30 people riding over 4 days to Durban.
So
that's where the journey aspect started.
Amazing.
Riding there, me and Jack Louis, who's from J&J, Bianchi and Campag, was a teammate of mine with ARG early years. And he came with us, and Martin Saunders and our whole South group, and we connected with these guys, with Mark Berneker, and then one car would bring the bags, and they would ride Frankfurt, Bethlehem to Northern Drakensberg, and then so it would go down until you...
Did you hate each other on that ride? You must have.
Obviously, it's a group ride, it's a race here and there, and that's what it was. But, you know, Alex Pavlov's been doing this for years with Northcliff Cycles to
did it a few years ago. It's so special.
Fun. So we did it as well quite a few years, made a Durban trip.
Good to know.
Coinciding with Amashova, because the easiest way to get from Maritzburg to Durban is if you ride the race. Because then the highway is closed. We've done it in December, riding through Pinetown and all the other stuff. It's a disaster. So the December trip was where it began, but it was complicated at the end. We've done it in various ways, but the Amashova ending always made sense. So 4 days to Maritzburg was my sweet spot, not 3 days. That's too far. And then race day. So that's how I like to do it. But another thing is why we decided the Cape is maybe better, is this journey aspect. We go to little towns and there'll be a restaurant, we're going to eat it in this town and then that, and then the next year it's gone. So everything was just dying. The little infrastructure in certain areas was starting to fall away, which is a wake-up call to say that things aren't the same, this isn't easy to do. So a little bit disappointed in that. So hence coming and being able to do some of the stuff that we've been doing of late, where you'll go to a little town and there's infrastructure and it's there this year, it's there again next year. It's getting visited. Part of our trips and things that we do is you're going to a place and there's...
I really want to get into those trips and what that is, because I think that's become if I think about my limited exposure to Nic White, there's the racing era, there certainly seemed to be a big focus on coaching and sort of performance management at a moment in time. Like I've heard enough people refer to being coached continually. And now there's, obviously the freewheel adventure. I mean, those gravel tours that you do are like the stuff of legend.
It's all good fun.
Before I move away from the racing though, I mean, there are these myths, there are these races that you've done. So I want to just, as much or as little, I know you want to you don't seem inclined to want to go through these incredible races that you've done. But some of the teams that you raced for, and some of the iconic races you did, it would be criminal to not cover some of that detail.
in the beginning, I did go to the army once upon a time when we still had to do that. It was a good place to go when you had a gap year to go and learn how to polish the floors and clean the bathrooms and that type of stuff. But went and rode our bicycles while we were in the army, managed to go to Junior World Champs and the tour of Austria with the national team. So we did some of that stuff when I was in the army as a junior, racing with some good riders at that time that we did a lot of things with. Managed to finish the Junior Worlds, although we didn't do so well. I did follow Frank van der Broek's wheel when he was on his way out and he crossed to the gap, to the break, but I didn't stay there. And those of you can go and Google who Frank van der Broek was. He was a legend, but he didn't last long. Nevertheless, we were in that sort of space. A couple of years later, national teams to Morocco, early years with Moulman Valgemoot. Who else came on that one? There were a few guys. It was a super hard tour. Didn't finish. That was the beginning of my sort of national team going on a team journey.
Didn't finish, blew up, legs gone.
No, the first tour of Morocco was a disaster. The Moroccans were absolutely, it was crazy. The tour was 15 days long. We had 1 day prologue, 1 day rest for travel in between the desert where we were doing prologue, 8 days thereafter, then 1 rest day, then 7 days. The first few days, there were 2 stages a day. Whoa. There was no race Bible until about the 3rd or 4th day because they hadn't had that organized yet. So it was just word of mouth, okay, going to start now. It's 100K start, lunch, 80K's next stage.
What?
It's ridiculous.
Race 100K's lunch, race 80.
Ridiculous. So anyway,
that's not normal, right?
And some of the riders who were actually in that tour, Dutch national team, you might go and Google some of these names. They're long since retired, but Rich Groenendaal, Leon van Bon, they became good pros. They were in the junior sort of spaces. So there were some good national teams in that race, and we were in the mix of this. Our team cars were those tiny little Renault things. We had a trommel on the roof to carry our shit. It was ridiculous. Moulman, you ask him one day about that if he remembers. It was ridiculous.
Chaos.
Absolutely. But anyway, that was my introduction to 1993, I think it was.
How old are you then?
20.
Early 20s.
Anyway, I was too young to manage doing all of that stupid stuff. With no support, it was just a disaster. Anyway, that was that part, and then slowly it built. Went to Belgium, I think 4 seasons, for 3-4 months at a time.
So stay go there.
Go there.
People say that's an incredibly difficult place to go. And
it is, but if you don't know what you're doing, then it's going to be super hard. Whereas the first year was a bit lost in a space, not knowing what to do, too young, not mature enough to understand the concepts and change of culture. It's a big challenge, the culture shock. South Africans are not tough in that space.
Give me an example or two, something specific.
It's just different. Whether you go to France, you go to Italy, you go to Belgium, you're young, you're alone, you're not mature enough to manage the changes and not manage well enough in your space. A 19-year-old European is a 24-year-old South African.
Just tougher,
not
more used to being alone,
just mentality-wise, culture-wise. So you're not going to go...
As a cyclist or just as a human?
No, as a cyclist in the cycling space.
Okay.
You go there and those guys are so much better at doing what they do versus what we think we know. So we're always on the back foot. So that was my introduction there. Then the next year, actually went to a guy who I went for the next 3 years. He looked after me and I stayed at his house and he gave me instruction and not coaching hard on, but just, this, do that. These races we choose, select the races that I'll be suitable to do. And so...
It's a passionate enabler of cycling.
He actually is one of the organizers of the Idri race, which is in Harlebeke, one of the semi-classics.
Okay.
Luc Schietgat.
Schietgat. Shoot bum.
Yeah. Anyway, super good guys, short guy, but anyway, I became part of their family. And
amazing.
So 3 to 4 months a year, stayed with him. And won some Camus Kush races, did well, but it was selective races, not race too much. Some training in between the races, hold me back, was young, so you didn't go race too much. So all these youngsters go to Belgium, think that there's a race every day, lekker, blah, 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 blah. They come back and then it's never the same again. Belgium is a scary place. You got to do it correctly and you can do well, potentially. It doesn't matter what your riding style is. You can learn to manage and learn the racing and develop your engine. The guys think, how do I, with things I've done in my older years now in the vets races, where do you train to do that? You didn't spend years of like racing cameras course in Belgium develops your ability to do what you can do. And those were a lot of
So
good
adaptation, would you say,
it comes,
being able to apply your mind and see the style of racing, adapt yourself to being capable at it?
I mean, you watch a cyclocross race now, today, you see how those oaks are on the wheel, they don't get dropped, they come back. I mean, South Africans be exploded.
Yeah.
Because that's what the racing is there across all disciplines, on the road, wherever, whatever. And what we were doing back then, that cameras cruise racing is the same as that. Round the corners, back on the wheel, you're sprinting, 150 times just to be on the wheel, not to go anywhere, just be there.
Yeah.
And you don't do that in this country.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did. I mean, sometimes it wasn't so fun, but I did enjoy it a lot. I enjoyed Belgium to a point, obviously. I won races there. I did really badly in other things, some things, but we did a lot of things, and that was part of my progression.
What's your most notable win? Doesn't have to be the most famous. What would you say was the one? What's this cobbled classic you won? It must be that one.
Yeah, so that there's quite a few steps before we get there. But nevertheless, so that's
building
Belgium.
The story.
Let's go, Nick. For a few years, then I come back. It's 97, actually just the end of that 97 year was the end of my under 23 years, I think, almost. We were going to a race. I was going with someone. We had a little bit of a car crash because the car came through a red intersection. We're in the car, so we got T-boned, broke a rib or two, had to go to hospital 1 or 2 days. But anyway, that was like the end of the season. It was near the end of my visa period because it always governed 3 months tourist visa. There you go.
South Green Mamba. Holding us back forever.
Yeah, for our careers. That was the disaster. Don't earn money, can't be there, you're a tourist. There you go, 3 months,
Shit.
90 days. So just to try and go maybe to another country, think you're squeezing a few more days, but invariably I'd leave Belgium, the Schengen states, with 120 days on my thing and I'm into trouble. So eventually I was tired of that. So I was like, can't do this again.
Such a silly thing to be holding at.
So my last year there was end of under 23, going home with a little bit of a broken rib and too many days on my Schengen 90-day tourist visa. So yeah, I thought, not coming back for a while.
Okay.
So we tried many avenues, but anyway, it didn't work to stay longer. So didn't make it to the point of getting a proper contract. So I was like, I'll come home. Managed to meet my now wife, Di, through Gary Biernicke. And that obviously gave some stability. Went and spoke to some of my mates, Jock Green, Yak Louis, can I ride for your team? Malcolm, can I ride for your team? Malcolm said, no, rather go get a job than come and ride for my team.
Okay.
So anyway, eventually they let me in. I proved to be quite valuable for Malcolm.
Malcolm Langer we're talking about.
Okay.
Right?
I met Malcolm, who said at first go get a job rather. So anyway, I got a job with him for many years as a pro. So as much as it was maybe a little bit of a block at the start, it also, I followed him and helped him and he helped me, and that's our cycling career. We had many years as pros and we earned a fair bit also thanks to him. So yeah, it grew, but that's
gonna have to have Nick and Malcolm sit down at some point.
It would be interesting, but nevertheless, that was that, and then into ARG with those guys, riding the local races, and then where did it start? 97, ride Joburg. It was called the 94.7 Cycle Challenge, the first one. So again, this year, there's some other little kickstart. Oak used to be quite aggressive in the bunch. Robbie Hunter. Yeah, he was there just a slighty. He was a bit all over the place in the bunch, hey? So anyway, start of this race, 97. I'm in this trial period with Malcolm and them. So we go in the break. Hotspot coming up. I think it was Rupert Reda, Robert Hunter, me, somebody else. Early break, first move, we go. Coming up towards Midrand after Kailami.
Yeah.
Hotspot after 10Ks. Robert Hunter and me sprinting if it, obviously going to beat me. So he goes over the line. I'll just ease up a bit as he's going over, and I think, okay, I'm going to attack because I can't go with him because he's quick. Malcolm and those oaks don't want me to ride in the break if I'm with him because it's not suitable for our team dynamic. Okay. So then I decide, let me attack immediately after he sits up hotspot.
What's the deal with the hotspot?
Hotspot, prize money.
Okay.
Yeah, hotspot.
Cash. Got you.
So there's how many hotspots.
So you're not playing the game for the hotspot, you're playing the bigger game.
I'm going to beat him. So I just, I sprint on and then I can't beat him. So I just carry on. And then he sits up, obviously, because he's got it. And I go, attack, alone, 90 Ks to go. Stupid move that. Anyway, carried on. Obviously, it's good when I'm alone because then the other teams must chase because Malcolm and Jock and
Can sit.
Jack are sitting on, so they got a little bit of a free ride. So I carried on going until the end. So that was the first one of those.
One.
Yeah, the whole day.
From 90 k's.
Yeah. So that was the first.
That
of
must have
those.
been ridiculous.
And I
Was
had
the team
these-
pumped? So there must have been.
Oh,
So that
well,
was like,
maybe they were, but they also wanted to win, so maybe they were a little bit unhappy, but they were happy.
okay.
But nevertheless, part of my...
Was that special for you?
Yeah, it was one of many special moments. I didn't expect there's going to be lots of those, but that was special, obviously. So anyway, next year, good year with those guys. I didn't
What was that team called?
It was ARG
ARG.
Insurance.
Okay.
So run by Jock and Malcolm, and yeah, we had a guy, Errol, used to come with us a lot. There were 5 of us. We had a combi van. Phone Errol on a Friday evening. Errol, Jock was also a big driver of our results. So Jock would say, you get the thing and find these races for us and say, yes, see, there's these prizes at this race. Oaks, if we go there, we can earn this much. So Jock used to work out how much we could earn
Sick.
if we got these results. So we were purely result driven to make some money because we didn't earn money.
Is this one of those dynamics that you're talking about
so
earlier,
Jock
where
was
we
a
are
big-
determining what we want to go and
was a
do?
big
And you
driver
motivate?
at that. He's now a big shot in a car dealership group and a trail runner of note. He runs 160 Ks across the mountains.
As he as well.
No, he's in Joburg, but he's,
Comes
so
down
he
to
was very much part of our beginning point.
Okay.
And he would be the accountant. He would be like, he's going to do this stuff.
Did he also ride? Is he?
I know his power. He rode for Barlow World and all sorts of
Okay.
things eventually.
But he's the one sitting there checking.
Yeah,
doing the
he'll tell
numbers,
us
let's
we
go.
can earn this much if we get these results. But we've got to
Deal
get
maker.
first, second, maybe fourth or fifth. And we used to race like that to be.
Okay.
So we were ruthless, eh?
And your race tactics, I mean, you guys were obviously dynamite as a team. You had,
Yeah, we knew what we could do and who was good at what, and we used to.
you'd obviously be like good lead out, breakaway, domestique,
more like,
across those sorts of, and Malcolm obviously sprinter.
Malcolm was good at the sprints, also good in the group, but we used to play off each other, so we knew what we could do to make a result.
Would it largely be between you and John Skiff for a win though? I mean, you and Malcolm.
Not
If it
with
was
me
a
and
sprint,
him,
or
but
did
also
the guys
John
also have some of that?
Eventually Neil, we had lots of guys who could win, and we'd, build up into that, and certain races would be more suited potentially for Malcolm to win, or other guys would make a chance. And
So the reason I asked that, what's it like managing that dynamic? Are egos completely chilled and everyone
I think at the end
understands?
of the day, there were certain races some people were like set on they needed to win, and
Okay.
others it was we're happy that one of us won.
Okay.
The result was the important part. Didn't matter who was the winner as long as you put yourself in the space to make the result. So it didn't matter.
Because again, the reason I ask, it's important, it's interesting to understand, because these are big names in cycling, to know that they're actually just humans and ego can still flare up. But if I think today, South Africa, modern day cycling, you don't have these super teams anymore. I think the last big one was, Honeycomb DMS was such an epic rivalry, and there was also TG at the time. That was like the last time you'd see like a 10-man fully sponsored team. If you now got Sonolo, that's got this like, big outfits at elite level. And obviously there's the RDXs, the ASAPs, that kind of stuff. But I wonder how much of that dynamic is still alive.
No, it's
today.
growing and coming back. So now,
who wins, who are we going to go for? The teams that I've spoken to, and I
think they're also getting a little bit stuck
great
into
understanding.
that. Yeah, some of them are getting stuck into the concepts of these are the oaks you must ride for, and then it's always that. So, but also depends on each event. So you can't really say. I haven't followed too close.
It's just, I find it, maybe I'm the only one. And I mean, if you think it's interesting, leave something in the comments. But to hear Reese and Miguel, who I know closer from RDX, like they'll, after the fact, but this was some of the thinking leading up to it. And the ASAP guys, post-cycle tour, shared these were some of their insights going into the race. This is how it played out. And seeing that human interaction, everyone wants to kind of have done their part, and I just find it so interesting.
It's always going to be a part of a successful result is having this. You get the fly-by-nights, odd things that happen, but a lot of it is driven by what we did, the guys are doing now.
It sounds like you had very sensible pre-planning around, this is how we're going to go and attack this race.
But also, we would, from riding together, we could read body language. You knew what the guys were going to do, what they were thinking, what they were going to do. They knew what was expected. We used to know what to do.
So those Tuesday mornings when you're there, when I'm going to go and blow myself out. I'm always trying to half-wheel you when
Do you
you're
know what
there.
another thing is like this weekend, just having to move around a group or whatever, is that nobody in the groups these days can anticipate what other people are doing. Now you can see what someone's going to do before they're doing it,
Yeah.
but a lot of people don't have a clue.
Yeah.
And they're worried because the oak's moving that way, but you can see who's going to move that way. He didn't need to point.
Yeah.
Body language is
Yeah,
changing.
yeah.
There's a movement, there's a dynamic of the group. It's not static. You
Yeah.
see a picture of a bunch, that's for that second, and then it's changed the next second.
Yeah.
But when people see these things, they think everyone's just riding like that. But it's always moving around,
yeah.
and you need to anticipate those things and see it. And that you learn from years of racing and all these other people that learn to go hard but don't know what to do about the racing. They won't understand that easily.
Got you.
So it takes time and experience, and that takes time.
I paused you in your story. You were moving through that quite nicely.
So we were where? Anyway, Belgium for many years, then ARG,
Yeah.
couple of years. Then it started with like report tours and things. We did quite a few report tours. Go back a few years, 95 I did a report tour. I won the prologue around the Union buildings. That's
Must
a
have
quick,
been.
interesting story. So I went early. I was with the national team. It was the second year of national teams. The year before that, 94, there was another story. That's another whole episode. But the 95 year with a couple of guys, Alan Wallater, Johan Ribbons, Malcolm, Christopher Mountjoy in our national team.
Okay.
Union building time trial, short, down this twisty road there in front of the Union buildings. I went early, thunderstorms in the afternoon, so I did my time. I actually had the fastest time, no hot seat to sit on like you see on TV. But anyway, I was back to the hotel, getting ready for the next day, showered up and stuff like that. Then it started to rain. Then eventually the manager was like, hey, where are you? You need to come to the prize giving. I'm like, why? What's going on? No, they haven't beat your time. So then I went back to get my yellow jersey. Otherwise, there's in trouble because I wasn't at the ceremony because I won. And I didn't even realize that because I was in the first wave. So yeah, next day, starting the yellow jersey, race to Witbank from Pretoria. And yeah, the next oak in the jersey because he won the stage was Robbie McKeown when he was an amateur for the Aussie team.
Okay.
So that's 95 tour. A few years later, 99, ARG, we went always to Tour Langkawi. If you made the national team the start of the year, that was just before I went to 98 for that as well. I think we used to win the team competition because Douglas Ryder, my other friend, he was always the captain of the national team. And he was like, Tour Langkawi, we go there to win the team prize because that was our thing.
Okay.
So we did that. And that's obviously your best 3 riders every day type of thing. So 99 we go again, me and Jock Green, Louis maybe, and Douglas Ryder, some of the guys. He was always on the opposition team to ours. We were ARG, he was IBM or whatever it was. It changed. But we were competitors. We didn't see eye to eye. We raced against each other. His story was on Friday, ours was on Monday.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a different story.
Please send him the link to this video when it comes out.
We go to Tour Langkawi. And Tour Langkawi, if you ever go to Malaysia, it's super hot, it's humid, it's terrible, that weather. I hate it.
Yeah.
Humid, hot, cold, aircon in the hotels. Anyway, susceptible, get a bit of a chest, then you're sick. We were riding the report tour for our own team, ARG, which was a few weeks after. So me and Jock got sick. We're like, no, Flip, it was 3 or 4 days in the tour of 10 days. We're not going to pursue it. Doug was acid because Yoke's dropping us for our team competition prize. Now we're under pressure. So we went home. We were sick. What can you do? Can't race with, infection. Anyway, we came back. We recovered. Started the report tour. First stage of the report tour. I'm winning in the yellow jersey. Doug was acid because now I left him at Langkawi because I was sick. But now you're fine actually because now you're winning. So yeah, he wasn't.
Weeks later.
So I kept that yellow jersey in that report tour for a few days. I managed to finish third eventually. Last time trial we did in that very report tour actually started at the base of Seikobosi.
Okay.
Went up through Camps Bay, up the long way, up to the top of Signal Hill.
Yeah.
That I was third in that time trial. Still got nice pictures of that.
Someone was saying there's
That was a proper time trial.
there's a Signal Hill time trial that you've got the com for. I wonder if that's that.
No, there's no comms or
There's something that goes Kloof, Signal Hill.
No, there was a Giro Capo hill climb time trial.
Yeah.
And I did win that twice. Once winning the Giro
You
Capo.
can't believe the amount of stories just rolling in a Cape social peloton.
But
And you mention your name. Someone's like, oh.
But yeah, I did well at that, but never as fast as David George. So he can get on the list here as well because he went under 12 minutes from the parking lot just above Campsbury High School to the top of Signal Hill. He did like 11:59, maybe his best time. Mine was 12:30.
Yeah.
12:46 and 12:30, the 2 times I won.
That is fast.
And then we had nice bikes, aluminium, top of the range bikes.
Yeah. What did those weigh?
They were like
10-ish?
I don't know, they weren't 10. They were probably 8 kilos.
Okay.
But they were nice bikes. I've still got
I mean,
those.
there's modern day bikes at 8 kilos.
But anyway, yeah, that was the thing, and that was the.
Did you race David a lot?
Yeah, we were often competitors as well. I used to be second
Okay.
most of the time, or third, or further down the list.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, yeah, those old bikes were good quality. Top of the range was mostly Bianchis, because in that era, Jack and Johan used to bring those in, and they used to sponsor us, so we rode Bianchis. But my last 2 years of being, 3 years of being a pro, we started riding carbon bikes. But most of my career, good results were on aluminium bikes.
Was it a big shift for you going?
Nah, bicycle's a bicycle. New bike is the perfect bike. It's always brand new. It's the best bike.
What did Byron say? The fastest bike is the one that you're given.
No, your best bike is the newest bike you've got most of the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, those were those years. And then further down the line, Malcolm left AIG because he thought he wasn't making enough money, because it was a small sponsorship. He found another big one, which was great. So then we were competitors. So then you had Doug's thing, you had our thing, you had Malcolm's thing. So it was great.
3 teams.
And then Malcolm's new big fancy team didn't go too well. Rapport was also fell apart. And then he needed some support. So he came back to us because we were a solid grouping. Then he got hold of HSBC. So he found that link, built that team, and we followed him. And then it became HSBC, which was a good 5 years, 2000 to 2004.
That was like a mega team, right? I mean, that's...
And until that got a bit small, then Malcolm moved across again to Douglas for a better thing. And we carried on until they also said it was enough. But we, on our last year, went to France for a couple of periods, 2004. We were a continental team for a few years already with HSBC, trying to get the global bank to say, okay, cycling's worth investing in, which they never did. It was always South African bank funding it. But we tried to go and race where HSBC had presence and would see that, yeah, maybe this is a good thing. So it never really worked to the extent that we aimed for. But we had some good...
That's a big swing.
We had some good innings. We raced in Ireland, did well in Ireland, where obviously HSBC from there. Raced in Europe in many places. So I've won in Ireland. I've won the King of the Mountains jersey in the Milkruss. Was second overall.
Nuts.
And I won a nice stage there, actually, with Paul Manning, who won the tour overall. But because I was pulling him away from the Telkom under-23 team, Christian Knees, and then helped him win, then I won the stage, which gives me that stage, and I took the King of the Mountains jersey. So that's the Milkruss stage. I was actually then on the podium getting my jersey, and Malcolm and the others rode in at the end of the stage. We were on the podium already. So, yeah, those type of things I've got to do. Raced in Serbia, won a stage in the Tour of Serbia.
Yeah.
Interesting country. We raced in Slovakia, in Germany, lots of places.
All under this Conti team.
Yeah.
Yes, that's crazy.
Then we raced in Morocco, obviously further times as well.
So the post-up picture I was talking about earlier at the start, it was in your HSBC days.
So HSBC also was big into that, like branding and marketing, and they were good with that. So we had a good innings with HSBC. Our final year, again, back to that, we went to France with Jeff Cornet, who is, if you listen to some of the interviews in the Giro d'Italia, the French English speaking is Jeff Cornet. So he helped us. He was once the manager of Brad McGee and the Aussie connection with FDJ.
Okay.
Anyway, he helped us build a program. Michel Gros.
Still have contact with them? You still?
No, not really.
Not really.
Anyway, they managed us and got us into a whole bunch of races in France. So we went in 2004, the start of the season. We did a race called Trobriand, which is a dirt road race in Brittany.
Okay.
As HSBC. Neil MacDonald, Ian McLeod finished that. I didn't. Next stage was the Tour of Brittany. It was Grenadier Breton, 7-8 days. So that was in that same Brittany region. Prologue first day, and then 7 days in cuck weather. But when the sun came out, then so did the South African legs. So the final stage was where I managed to get away, because then I started to feel good. The sun was shining. Got the good feeling. finished in a little town called Dinan, which is on the north end of Brittany.
Yeah.
And it's a little town on a hill, cobbled road up there. I got into the move. Obviously, the big hitters racing for the win of the tour were marking each other. I was nowhere. I think Ian McLeod was 7th overall, so he was in that mix. But I went away with the group, managed to give like a skip as we hit the town, and then the various laps through there, up a cobbled climb. I stayed away, managed to win. On a cobbled hill, this town, apparently it was every year finish in this town, Dinan. And like 15,000 people lining the streets. It was a proper spectacle.
Yeah.
So I won my cobblestone, which is in my lounge. Bernard Hino on the stage because he stayed down the road, so he'd be there to give out the prize. So yeah, I did win that.
Shit.
And then,
I mean, that's got to be up there with the...
Then we went to another race called the Tour de la Manche, which is in Normandy. I managed to get the yellow jersey in that. But then I lost the flip. I came second. This other big French oak.
I feel a lot better suffering behind you now, hearing all of this.
So yeah, I flip and botched the last stage of that, and then they got away from me and got the jersey. There was this big guy, he rode for this team called Orber 93, and he had these big legs. So I was in the break with him on the second stage or whatever, 2 of us. He was riding around in the, 11, 12, 13, those gears on these flat roads all day. I thought, sure, this oak's going to be tired when you get to the sprint. Not that I sprint. When you get to the sprint, I thought, this oak's going to be tired from dragging this gear around. So we got to the sprint after being away for 100 or whatever Ks. He smoked me.
The legs.
So anyway, the next day, time trial, then I beat him in the time trial, but by a little bit, not a huge amount.
Yeah.
Because obviously he must have been tired from riding that gear all day, but clearly wasn't that tired. Anyway, last stage, laps, somewhere they gave me the skip on the last hill just before the end, and he got a few seconds.
Yeah.
And then he won the tour, so I was only second.
Shit.
So yeah, that was a bit of
Good racing.
Bit of a cuck one. But then the next stage was the final day, I think, there. And Ian McLeod actually won the next stage. So yeah, we did well as a grouping. So Ian
I
McLeod,
can't believe the results you're rattling. And this is all under this HSBC team from South Africa. That's crazy.
Newspaper articles in French.
Yeah.
Our bag of tricks, which the boys need to still go read.
Oh, you know we're going to ask for them.
So anyway, we did well there, and Ian was being groomed almost to try and push for contract. So he got into Francais de Jeu through Jeff Cornet by the end of that season. But our drive that year as HSBC was we had a team, we had a nice team, but we had many under 23 guys, or under 25 was the age group, but many young guys, Alex Pavlov being one of them as well, in McLeod. And me and Neil MacDonald were the older guys. So we did this first stint of 6 weeks in France, came back for a little bit of a rest period. Dan Spencer was also in our group then. And then we went back again for the second part. And the first part was riding these pro-am type races. And the second part, we were going to dabble a bit with the pro events. So then we came back, and then we did a pro tour criterium because the Tour de France had just finished. No point in staying in France if you aren't doing Tour de France because no racing at that point. So anyway, we came home, went back, did a little pro tour crit, then did some big races. And then we started Tour de l'Ain, Tour de Limousin. And that was build-up races for then our young guys to do Tour de l'Avenir. So that was the program for HSBC. And Neil MacDonald and I came home after that period. But obviously but when we went back, I managed to win one of the races in the Meilleur Breton, which is 4 one-day races in Brittany.
Okay.
We rode some pro races with the guys who had come from Tour de France. They were going twice the speed of us.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was interesting to see.
Different level.
Yeah. I did finish Tour de l'Ain, but I didn't finish Tour de Limousin. That was too hard. I don't know why I didn't finish, or maybe I did. Anyway, we were getting hammered. It was too hard.
Yeah.
The Limousin is such a hard area to race. There you ride, and you don't climb a hill and descend. You descend, and then you climb the hill. So you go through these valleys. So you're almost getting dropped down to the river, and then they go something, it's impossible.
Yeah.
And we'd be riding around at the back of the group, and there'd be these Cofidis oaks like Cedric Vasseur and the other one good rider, what is his name? He was a Cofidis rider, he used to do well in the King of the Mountains. He rode at the back of the bunch all day. But you'd be at the back and you're just fishtailing like this, and the soaks at the back, and then decide to go to the front and just... So you couldn't...
Different level.
And years later, 2004, you go see what was actually going down. That's why we went.
I was going to say, you in the heart of the doping area.
Big stuff going down, and you wonder how these oaks went that fast, but clearly that's what was going on.
Throughout, I want to delve into that as a whole topic on its own, but was it obvious and was it visible?
Nah,
Could you see it? Was it obvious? Was
They're
it
just
like
going-
really well, like
No, you
people
don't know what's
describe
going
it
on.
as
You
being
just
extremely covert and like a
just
proper
get to the
operation?
race and you do what you do, you eat what you eat, and you don't know what the oaks are doing. It's not like one group change room and you see
Okay.
what's going on. Everyone
It wasn't like
fully
everyone
stuff
there
to
kind of
go.
knew what the deal was. It really was.
But what did happen is they would search some vehicles, and because of that Festina affair, pharmaceuticals of any sort, they would come and search your bags. The police on the road, if you got a branded vehicle, and they come and search you. So it was pretty like tricky to just be around in, and the Motorola cars or the postal cars had no branding on them.
Hammering. Oh, okay. Okay.
Team cars, no branding. So that was the thing there. If you pitch up there, and there was a couple of cars with no branding. And there's obviously the cars in the convoy would have branding, but they'd have these neutral cars.
Yeah, what a time.
So who knows? But anyway, we now know, but we didn't know then. But nevertheless, we came back. Neil McDonald came and rode the Tour de Eden with some other youngsters. We grouped with some Tux lighties, Waylon Wilcock being one of them. That was the beginning of our relationship, Waylon Wilcock, because then he joined us after when we went to Microsoft the year afterwards, because HSBC was at the end of its time. They said, okay, thanks for coming. 5 years is enough. Then we gave Doug a call. Doug, we're ready for your team. So then we joined Doug's team and we helped him. He had Microsoft a couple of years. It became MTN, Doug said he wanted to go to the Tour de France. And we said, no, you're mad. You're never going there. He was right.
Yeah.
But anyway, we helped in the early parts doing what we could do. We had a career. We helped him get his results.
Okay.
He got the sponsors going and whatever. But
And in that era, you can make a good living. I mean, it was a career. Like you could.
we did. We made good prize money. We made good salaries. We had
So
good
people
benefits.
could live off that salary as a professional athlete, no problem.
Well,
within
we
your
didn't,
team.
Yeah, we didn't all get paid the same, but yeah, some of us.
But yeah, you're not
Everyone was
you're
professional.
not
They didn't need a
sleeping
job.
under a bus.
It was our
shelter
job
like
to
you.
do that.
Yeah.
We didn't go and have
Because I
another
mean,
job.
just that in and of itself, there's a handful of people that are racing today that can
Yeah,
say
so
that
we
they
were
make a living.
fortunate that we could do that. In fact,
that's cool.
until I said to Malcolm at the end of my career in our team that we had, his team that we were part of, Med Scheme, until I said, no, thanks, I'm actually done. I could make a living doing that. So I was privileged to be able to do that.
Yeah, top job by all of them. And to all the brands that helped do that for that period of time. I mean, that is, I don't care what anyone says, that's the heyday.
No, it was fantastic, and it was what it is and was. But
Conti
yeah,
teams and racing around Europe and winning races as South Africans. It's like, come on, man, that is epic. I hope.
And then, there's still quite a few stories there, but nevertheless, we're not going to go through
how
that.
many there are. Podcast episode
Tour of
2, Nic
Morocco,
White, just race victories.
Tour of Morocco.
Tours.
Big fan of Morocco. One day I maybe take a gravel tour there. But Morocco, I raced 93, was a disaster.
Yeah.
The worst ever. Went back in 98. Young, fresh, just out of Belgium. I'd won that 94, that ride Joburg or whatever it was called. 94.7, but still like fresh. We go in March or April to Morocco. Tour of Morocco, it's a new tour. Who's going to go for the national team? Well, maybe we go, Jock, me, the usual suspects, most from our team and a couple of add-ons. So we go and try this. Marrakesh start, there's a time trial, and then there's however many days, a lap of Morocco. We'll go give this another bash after my early bad experience now, but older, a bit more capable. Anyway, prologue time trial, winner. Anyway, so now we got to start this whole tour. We don't know what these oaks are like. We've just got bad memories from the past. Start on the front, Jacques Foulard with me. It's Malcolm. I think Jack Louis was there. Malcolm, I don't think came, but Jock. Good, solid guys. I don't know if Douglas was there or not, but nevertheless, your Doug was there. They have to start riding first stage on the front, defending yellow. You know how difficult that is. You don't know international level. You don't know who's there. Are these oaks good? Are they club teams? Who's what?
Yeah.
Amore Vita was there. That's that Italian team.
Yeah.
With some other little sort of professional tiny things, but national teams, club teams, are proper.
Got no idea.
So anyway, 8 days.
And what, you have to go out and ride hard? Is that not the
we
expectation?
defend yellow. So what are you going to do? Got to follow da. Anyway, it turns out we keep the jersey. Many days on, we go. I won that tour. But I lost it just before the time trial to an Amore Vita guy.
Okay.
on this climb up to a town. I was actually talking to someone the other day, this little town called Ifrane. It's quite an interesting little town in the highlands, in the middle of Morocco there. Anyway, I think gave me the skip. He got the jersey. We started the time trial next day. Won that as well. It was a super nice time trial. Then I had the jersey again. Anyway, we kept it to the end.
Okay.
So I won that Tour of Morocco in 98. So that was super fun.
Magic.
Anyway, we went back again in 2001 to the Tour of Morocco as a national team again. JP Van Zyl, who heads up the Africa UCI story, he was trying to ride on the road a little bit. So he came with us during that tour. I didn't do as well. I was better level completely. Also, Moravito was there. Other pro teams, Polish, all sorts. I managed to do well, but not win anything. But I did have a couple of seconds and thirds.
Okay.
There's a town called Essaouira. It's on the coast.
Yeah.
I rode a 50-kilometer time trial from that town. And I was feeling good. I had really good legs. Went hard. Last 2Ks along the headwind, along the beach to finish. Thought I must go a bit harder, a little bit bigger gear. Maybe laboured the gear a little bit. I lost that 50K time trial by 2 seconds.
No.
To some
those
Polish
are the
oak.
margins.
Yeah. And maybe that was because I went to a bigger gear instead of trying to turn the light gear. 2 seconds. So you can ask yourself, where you find 2 seconds? And there was another stage as well. Beni Mellal to Marrakesh. 200 Ks, tailwind, a little bit of a kink in the road somewhere, and that's where the race split because there was a slight gutter for about a kilometer. Anyway, right near the end, I went early, maybe 2 Ks to go. Flip, I was away. The Oaks came past me in the sprint, only 2 Oaks passed me. And I was third in that stage.
Man.
So I had some good memories of that tour, but that's 2001. Then later on, we went back again in Doug's team's MTN 2007. Managed to win the first stage. I think we won that tour as well.
It's just so good to hear about this team of South Africans going around.
MTN, obviously Doug trying to go to the Tour de France one day.
Yeah.
That was our innings to international stuff. We actually rode that tour. Daryl Impey was in our team that year, but we were racing the national team. And Jeremy Martins, who's got an interesting podcast and a lot of good things these days. Anyway,
makes a huge
we rode
effort
together for many years in various teams and didn't always get on with him too well. But anyway, he was in a different team at that point, but they went as the national team and we went as MTN.
Okay.
So we were like competitors, but also together against the Moroccans and the Arab countries.
Did you find it within you to work?
No, we smashed them. But anyway, that was a fun tour.
I need Jeremy to get on there, come defend himself.
But anyway, it was good fun. But I managed to win that tour as well, 2007.
Oh,
and then we went again in 2008, and I think I won a stage that year.
You've only stopped racing just the other day. I mean, that's not that far behind.
Yeah, so anyway, Morocco, I've got great memories of Morocco. Enjoyed the place. I'd love to go back there again and go ride a tour and see some of the cities where we went. Fez, Meknes, Khenifra, that top part, Marrakesh. It's a fantastic country. Love to go back. But tricky. From those first years, the Moroccans actually went against Doug's willingness because I won African Continental Champs in Cameroon for Doug's team, but as a national team with Jay Thompson, who also did many years with Doug. We went to Cameroon and I managed to win the time trial and I won the road race. It was quite a hilly circuit. In that road race was the Oku Road, the Eritrean team when they were up and coming. Tekla Hammerknot, that one. He won the Mountains jersey somewhere in the tour.
Okay.
Or Finn had the jersey. He was in that race. He was further down in the list and I won that stage, that race.
Sure.
UCI, Africa champ. So the next year I wanted to defend that. Doug didn't want me to go. We were falling out. I went anyway. I was there. Dan Craven actually won that race, but it was in Morocco. And funny enough, obviously I'd been many times to Morocco, but then speaking to the president of the Moroccan Federation before this African champs in Casablanca, he says, do you know that on the streets in Morocco, everyone knows who you are?
Man.
So he says that you're famous in Morocco, the South African white. That's how their following of cycling was.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that.
Cool.
But anyway, that was interesting to hear that. He says
we'll check the channel analytics when this goes live, what our Moroccan viewer base looks like.
Anyway, that's interesting, something just to note. But yeah, those were super interesting years and good memories of those Moroccan tours.
Fun memories, no regrets. A good.
Yeah, but again, no one knows that here. There's no noise about it. We made our own little bit of noise, but
This is the thing. This is like,
so those were those years.
didn't know 1% of this.
Then my last race proper with Malcolm's team. First with Malcolm, we had mostly a local do well in everything here. Malcolm was on his roll for his 500 wins or whatever, that story. Med scheme, and he was driving that. We made good money out of that whole scenario. In incentive is in his budget that we got paid, but we did well as we could. Went to America to try and do, I think just to go see America and go to New York. But anyway, went to Washington, did a race there. It was super hard. We did 2 races. We got hammered. Went to New York for an afternoon. It was fantastic. Came back. Anyway, our last proper race, overseas race, Malcolm's setup was the tour of Thailand. So I was speaking to another guy who's done a lot of my gravel tours. He's just been to Thailand. He says, fantastic, you must go to Thailand. I said, but I went. But if you came to South Africa and you visited Bloemfontein and then you went back, would you have seen South Africa? So that's where we went to in Thailand. We went to somewhere in the middle of the sticks there in the veld in Thailand and raced a tour. And I managed to finish second, which was pretty cool. We did a time trial again to start. There was a team, Jelly Belly. You've seen the Jelly Belly Americans. Folks were on fire. Anyway, we rode this prologue time trial. I finished in the first 5 or 6 of them. I don't know what number I was anymore. Maybe it was 4th or I don't know. Anyway, start the first stage. These folks start on the front of the bunch like all of them. It's like, guess what are these folks doing? Anyway, as it is, they eliminated each other a little bit until only one oak was left. He won the tour and I was second. I went out on the second last stage near the end alone. They eventually caught me. So I went for a dig to win, but they came back and I finished second. Anyway, so I was second in the Tour of Thailand as well. 2.2 race. But when you came back from that, Neil MacDonald and I were then going to start our mountain biking career. Dig into Joburg to see. So anyway, that was the new up-and-coming thing. We wanted to give this mountain biking thing a bash. We'd convinced Malcolm this is what we want to try and do to broaden our what we want to do. Anyway, first stage of Joburg to sea, neutral, into the thing, racing Shan Wilson and Andrew McLean, just having a little local dice. Slipped, landed on some hard stuff into the stadium. Hip, broken.
Shut.
That was the end, pretty much, of my full-on.
That's it?
No, we came back again. There's another story about the coming back, but you're running out of time.
And I have to do a follow-on.
That was me. So the next stage, firstly, you can walk around a little bit, but it's damn sore. Doctors, I know, just take some painkillers, you'll be fine. You can stand. Okay, start the next stage. Sore. Can't clip in and out nicely. Have to,
After you have the accident, you continue riding?
So I'm still, I can walk around and that's just like, it's sore, damn sore, flip. Neil, you can't drop me. We've got like 9 days together. It's a team thing, man. You can't go home. Flip, no, I'll be okay, man. It's just a sore. Anyway, we start the next day. The Kenyans, David Kinja and his mates, McLean and Shan, and me and Neil, we ride away from the group. It's hard to get over the top of the pedal stroke. Sore. Anyway, we going so fast, we miss the turn. You have to turn around, and now you're in traffic. So we're along this railway line just outside Frankfurt. And now you got to go past some people, and it's clipping in and out. Yes, it's hurting. So I decide to Neil, listen, I actually can't. I'm going to have to just carry on. Phone our mechanic, tell him the first water point's 30 Ks or whatever, just wait, come drive there and pick me up.
That is ridiculous.
So anyway, I hobble to there, get in the car, go back to the finish, shower, clean up, say, Di, come fetch me. It's just, done. Go to the hospital next day. We arranged via, actually, Monty is a proper surgeon, whatever. No, phone the Sokia, you go see him next day. Mill Park Hospital, walk in there, hobble, lie down, x-ray, and they says, don't even sit up, stay where you are. Neck of the femur, impacted, we must operate, stick it together. So I've been 2 hours like this, walking around. So anyway, some screws in there, got to be still, 8 weeks, not even pressure, not even standing on it. We wait. So anyway, that was the end of my moment. Cool. Malcolm, what should I do? I don't think I'm going to be the same again, McLean says, come and work for Cyclolab. could be the face of the store, 4 ways. Okay, or whatever. Okay, end of career. Malcolm, I'm going to ride the end of the year, and then I'll be done. So that's my last innings. Last race I did, 94.7, 2010. Big, good team. I was starting to get some rhythm back. Wasn't great, but I wasn't bad. Malcolm was leaving to go to Doug's team. I mean, not Malcolm, Aaron Brown. Malcolm was cross because Aaron's leaving. Aaron wanted to win because he won the year before. Malcolm was wanting to win because his team. Me and Waylon on the front because now we're in the break and there's like 7 of our team and a few others in our escape. Riding on the front with Waylon because now we must stay away so that our Oaks can win because it's important. We've got nice bonuses. It's med scheme, doing our job. Get off the highway there by Diepsloot or whatever. 15 k's to go. Me and Waylon, come, let's start attacking here. All these Oaks are sitting. We must fire it up a bit. Waylon, big attack. Me, counter attack. Away. So looking, now what? Is like half of the break is my teammates. The other half are Oaks that I'm friends with because we raced somewhere together.
Come on.
Oaks don't like these Oaks, those Oaks don't like those Oaks. Aaron's like, no, we must close this because I want to win. Malcolm's like, bagger, you leaving the team. I'm not doing that. And there's me.
Bombing.
To the winning posts.
That's how you end your career.
So that was also probably one of the better.
That's special.
So that was, I suppose, bookend the professional years.
You thought of writing a book?
No, I wrote a book the other day. Well, sort of. It was my journeys, October Escape group. 10 years of doing this trip with these bunch of guys. I made a book the other day. It's my first book. It's in the store. You can come have a look at the pictures.
Oh, definitely.
That's not this story, but that's a different story. But anyway, so that was the racing career.
God, write a book.
Malcolm's got a book coming.
I read it. I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. I wish more people would write those books. If no one reads it, write the book. I think for the sake of the process, that's man. What a story.
So that's just a little snippet into the racing parts. And then obviously after that, then we went and rode some mountain bikes and did some other vets things. It's another story.
I mean, we literally have, I'm looking at, I told you an hour and a half and cut it.
Yeah,
I mean, this has just been, I would like us, I don't want to try and skirt over present day, and let's please do a follow-up when you got time. But where are you today? What are you doing today? And maybe let's just talk about the whiting, the gravel.
Yeah, so now...
I mean, you've seen racing like none of us have seen it, and you're looking down the barrel of this gravel thing.
So gravel's that's a different story. But right now, again, as we started off with, philosophy, it's journey, it's bicycle. Bicycle's taking you somewhere, whether you want to race, whether you want to journey, whether you want to go for a little adventure for an hour in the suburbs in the morning before the car starts. It's all about the bicycles. We help people with the bicycles. I'm at Freewheel Cycology. It's a great bike store in the southern suburbs of Cape Town. We sell specialized bikes and it's about bicycles. We've got a coaching company that's been going for a long time, so we help people with the ability to ride bicycles. We've got tours that we take people on that we've put together at times, and it's the journey and it's all about the bicycle. So it's basically everything we do, me, my wife included in what she's part of the coaching thing and has been for before my time as a coach, is about helping people, empower them to go and enjoy the bicycle, whether it be race, journey. We're putting on the things that we get to do. Yeah, but Freewheel Cycology is where I am. Coaching is what we do. The bike trips is the bolt-on, which gives us the reason to have all the other things, as well as whatever events you go and find.
The reason it's important to mention that, because, I mean, if anyone is as mind blown as I am, the roller coaster half an hour of your career that you've just blitzed through. I mean, you sit, as you walk through the door, you are, to me at least, when I walk in, I always see your face there. And that's, I mean, hopefully there's not a line out the store of people coming in there with autograph books, but I also hope that is the case. But that's the bonkers part of this, is you can walk into that store in the southern suburbs of Cape Town, a 15-minute drive from pretty much anyone, 30 minutes if you in the northern suburbs, and you can come and have a conversation with this man that's done these things. And that, to me, I just can't get over it. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe there's something wrong with me, but the coffee is decent there.
Yeah, no.
The store is a great place to be. There's some young, fiery cycling talent that lives in and around there. There's a hell of a mechanic shop in the background. It's just a flipping cool place to be and go in and have a chat about bikes, about journeys. I've done one of your gravel tours. I will never forget that we went into that one farm that you were scoping out as a place to stay for your high-end guests, because they're quite specific.
And that tour was very nice.
Going down with the way that mountain opened up remains, and I've done some flipping cool gravel stuff, but that moment when we were all descending in, it was just one of those like peak cycling moments where it's like, I fucking love running my bike.
No, that's why we ride bikes, for those snippets. That's why we raced all those times, for that little moment of euphoria to, if you're lucky to win or you're lucky to go across a gap and feel good doing it, those little snippets, what keeps you coming back through whatever suffering that you have in trying to get to that point.
It's a great
those
drug.
Things carry you.
It's a great drug to be on. For anyone that is interested in those tours, do you have any spread out this year? Is it available? Can people?
We don't do a lot. We generally build custom things, but we don't do all of the things that potentially get asked. We do have a little outing to the Gallows again, which is quite a nice gravel race that I've enjoyed doing.
It's become quite legendary, that little trip of yours.
Doing 4 days, slightly different to what we did last year.
Can't be the same route, yeah.
No,
You
it's
told
not
us
the
that.
same. Some things are similar, but not all the same. So yeah, that's taking bookings for that. We don't have a lot of places, but yeah, that's open. We've got a few spaces on a little trip post cycle tour. We've got some guys from Holland and Geneva and some from Joburg that are coming. Got 4 days around from Monday to Thursday after cycle tour around Montague, sort of Langeberg, small Karoo area. That's maybe a couple of spaces, but that's pretty much custom, but not
Okay. That Gallows one, what's the reference point for someone in terms of like level? Like, I could never do that. I can't hold
Yeah, I mean, it's
X watts or.
besides the race day where everyone does their race, some people can, I mean, the highlight is going up the hill at the end because it's unique. But the race doesn't need to be a race. It's actually a ride.
So the gravel tour getting there, just be competent.
But yeah, we try and stick together, but it breaks up in places on hills. That's natural, but it's like, it's not fast, not slow.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of a feel, but generally the people that come are capable. It's not beginner. Mostly a lot of our tours have been built around a core, and these core people are inviting some people they know and they're bolting people on that they know versus just a shotgun approach.
Yeah.
We've done tours, and we haven't even touched on it. My things through Lesotho, we've done years and years of that since 2005, making trips through Lesotho. That's where it all began. Beyond the Amashova trips, then we started these things in Lesotho, which were mountain bike, which eventually became gravel bike, which moved into the gravel things where we've done the Waterberg, we've done through the Drakensberg, we've done all these things.
It's ridiculous
which is
experience.
super fun, and these can all still be happening, but it's, they're not like easy plug and play. It's built, it's
bespoke,
custom to the people that come on these things. So that's what we try and keep going.
Last one, those which are, again, if you're in the southern suburbs, like such a great opportunity to come and ride with someone so knowledgeable, with so much experience, and just like generally speaking, good advice. The shop rides, such an easy access point. What are the days for those? Yeah,
it is. It's also complicated because the southern suburbs is not the easiest place for a big group, but we try to do what we can with that. And it's Saturday mornings, 5:15 or 5:30. It varies. Got a Strava club group to announce those things, but again, we try and do a ride back store area, 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Open to all.
Open to all, but again, with we can't deal with 100 people there, so we see how and who comes and how we adjust that. But those.
So if you rock up on your trek, your elves, your Yankee, you'll be welcome.
We're not superstitious. Obviously, we like people to like certain bikes, but we like people on bicycles.
Most of all.
But yes, we do like people on specialized as well. And if you aren't, we can always help you. But
yeah, of course.
nevertheless, as long as you're on a bicycle,
That I have no doubt.
as long as you're on a bicycle, that's the important part.
And if you're not comfortable in your bicycle, you can be bike fitted onto
And
it.
even if you have to ride your old lead bike, it can still go fast
Yeah,
enough
yeah.
where it needs to.
Just
Or your
ride.
gravel bike, which is a bicycle. And any bike is a gravel bike as well, as people who've ridden with me may find out. And don't bring your road shoes on a gravel ride, because you might have to walk somewhere when we get across the beach.
Don't even waste your breath on me. I will bring my white road shoes on.
Been on my beach trip from Hermanus to Stanford with bike bags.
I don't know if I want to.
I'll show you the video. That's just
Nic, we are bang on time. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed this. Thank you so much for coming through. I know it's not easy to take the time off. Thank you, Richard, for letting him have this little break in the morning to come and see me. I'm definitely going to be nagging you to come on and do that follow-up and maybe talk about some of the adventures and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, there's just so many questions. But thank you so much for coming through and for sharing the story with us.
Well done for putting this platform together and making a noise about people's journeys.
We'll continue. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And we'll see you out there.
Yes.
Thanks, Nic.
Cool. Thank you, David.